Now, fake Louis Vuitton bags, pirate CDs and counterfeit clothes, all part of a global business which is estimated cost the UK economy millions of pounds a year.
But from today, the government and the UK Patent Office have joined forces with other agencies to tackle the bootleggers. Well, breakfast, Julia Botfield is at the London Music School to tell us more. Good morning to Julia.
Good morning to you, Natasha, and they're performing Summertime behind us. We'll get a little bit of a blast of it later on because Emma, who's singing, has got a fantastic voice. Real interesting history and legacy, this place. This is where Bohemian Rhapsody was written over a 4-day period. This is where Madonna has recorded tracks, so has Grace Jones, the Stereophonics. And somebody who's got a long history that goes with the school, long and illustrious history in the music industry, is Martin Keating, who's the owner of the school. Martin, we're talking counterfeit music specifically this morning. Is it a new phenomenon in the music industry?
Yeah, it started really about 1971, 72 with the advent of tape, and it's been a problem ever since then. Before that, it was never a problem.
Your dad was a big recording artist in earlier decades. I know you were talking to him about this on the phone last night. What's his take on it?
He feels the same way as I do. I think it does a lot of damage to the business. At the same time, I think we all feel that the record companies aren't doing enough to promote the right kind of music or to get some sort of camaraderie with the public. Like in the 70s, we used to follow bands that were based on like Trojan, Tamla Motown, Decca Records, and they used to promote bands over a 10-year period. Now it's so short-lived, the industry as a whole. What actually happens is that people go and pirate these records because there isn't really as big a market as there used to be, purely because of one is content, and two, maybe the record companies could do a bit more to package the stuff so it made it more interesting for the person to buy it. OK, we're
going to talk to somebody from the BPI a bit later on, and we'll put those points to them. But just briefly, I mean, you found, I assumed that you could only buy these sort of fake goods in boot fairs and that sort of place, but you found one in a particularly surprising place, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm in a big supermarket, I won't mention any names, and I had to learn, for no good reason, an Elvis song. And I went and bought a cheap version of one of his CDs. I think it was $5.99. And when I opened it up, it was a counterfeit. And actually, the label was made of paper, and the back of it had the grooves of it had been done on a home computer.
So these things you can end up buying them in fairly reputable places. So, yes. Martin, I'm going to leave it there with you because I want to take you through. You can see the guys rehearsing behind. So let's have a quick chat with some of those. We've got some of the students. Emma, who's actually singing at the moment, is she's the singing teacher here, and when you hear her beautiful voice, you'll understand why in just a second. Guys, can I just, sorry to interrupt the song, we'll get you to sing a bit more in a minute. Just want to ask you a couple of quick questions. Martin, you're one of the students here. What's your take on the impact of counterfeiting on the industry that you're just going into?
Sort of, for our perspective, we're sort of hoping on making a living out of selling CDs, so from that point of view, it's not that good. But on the other side, record companies should maybe add more to the CD they sell, because they're not making the competition really. Should adding more things to the CD, so when you buy a CD, you actually get something from it.
You think that would be an incentive, and Martin was saying that as well, that, you know, this is an incentive really for somebody to buy the real thing rather than a fake. Let me just quickly move over to Emma. Emma's one of the teachers here. You're the singing teacher, but you've got a beautiful voice. We'll hear some more of that in just a second. Having worked in the industry, what are your thoughts as a singing teacher, as a songwriter as well, and what the impact of this is? Do you think it's really damaging the music industry?
I do. I think it's important for songwriters to retain their as much royalties as they can, and it's very important for us to make a living out of this business. But I do think the record companies could charge us a little less for CDs, and the amount of music that students consume is huge. They have to be able to listen to so much music in order to give back and to be able to write productively. So they need to be able to absorb a lot of music. So they need to hear a lot, but it costs a lot of money for them.
OK, so the message here is that the record industry could do a bit more to help as well. Yes. Guys, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts, and I'll leave everyone with a bit more of Summertime, if that's all right.
Dancing.
We were enjoying that one.
Dancing. Now, later in the programme, we'll be finding out what the fashion industry is doing to tackle the problem of designer rip-offs.
But before that, at 21 minutes past 7, British forces in Iraq. It's past 7 forces in Iraq.
Fake Louis Vuitton bags, pirate CDs and counterfeit clothes, they're all part of a global business which it's estimated costs the UK economy millions of pounds a year.
But from today, the government and the UK Patent Office have joined forces with other agencies to tackle the bootleggers. Well, breakfast, Julia Botfield is at London's Music School to tell us more. Good morning.
Good Good morning to you, Natasha. Did you know that 1 in 3 CDs sold worldwide is a fake? And the British government estimates that around £10 billion is lost to our economy every year as a direct result of counterfeiting. Well, the London Music School has a long and illustrious history of songwriters working here, of extremely talented producers and music makers. But one thing really intrigued me when I was talking to the students and teachers who are performing behind me. Guys, I'm going to get you to stop just for a second because I want to get a show of hands. Has anyone here ever bought a fake CD? Almost everyone. Almost everyone. Let me talk to Emma Wilson. Emma's the singing teacher here. Emma, why do people do it? I mean, in the music industry, I'm surprised that you guys do it yourselves, but why?
Actually, I'm ashamed to admit it, and I'm not condoning it, but there's such a huge appetite for music. People want to consume such a massive amount of music, and if you're really obsessive about it, you want to hear it a lot, you want to hear lots of new stuff, and CDs are just far too expensive for people to be able to afford on a consistent basis.
OK, we'll put that point in a minute to somebody from the music industry. Your explanation, it's fair enough. Let me just ask Kevin, who's another tutor here. Kevin, you didn't put your hand up. Why is it dangerous to the industry, all this counterfeiting?
Well, it's a disaster for songwriters because that's where the money is in music. It's songwriting, and everyone works for the songwriter. All those musicians, whatever you do in music, you're working for the songwriter. And if the songwriter's making no money out of it, it's pointless, you know.
I'm sure you'll be remonstrating with your students when I leave the room. Guys, I'm going to let you carry on practicing because I want to take you next door because we promised you in the last hour when we heard the criticisms about how much more the music industry should perhaps be doing. We heard criticisms that perhaps we can put to somebody from the music industry now. Let's take you upstairs. We can look through at the guys as they carry on rehearsing. I want to introduce you to Matt Phillips, who's from the British phonographic industry. Matt, first of all, explain to me why this is a problem for the industry from your point of view, from the recording companies.
Well, the record industry makes an enormous investment in new British talent. And the problem with counterfeiting and piracy is at the end of the day, it's not going to be the established artists that really suffer from it. It's going to be these young performers that are wanting to record music, wanting to make money in the music industry, and they just won't have a route to market because it's the record industry that makes all this investment.
Martin Keating is the owner of the London Music School. Martin, in the last hour we heard some of your students saying the music industry itself, the recording companies, should be doing more. What could they do to try and minimise counterfeiting?
I think it's like anything. If you make the product more desirable, and so that it's less easy to counterfeit. So things like if maybe one of the artists could probably sign every 5th copy, or you had a nice T-shirt or a booklet that came with it, then this would make the person far more likely to buy the CD because it means that you can't copy those things. You can copy the CD itself, but if it's covered in roses, those are the things I think the record company could do to make it a product they'd like to go out and buy.
Could that possibly happen? Could you persuade the musicians to sign every 5th CD?
Well, I don't think that would be probably practical. I mean, last year in the UK we sold about 237 million albums, so I think it'd be quite impractical to get artists to sign all those. But you're right, there's absolutely lots more that the record industry can do to make the product more desirable, including sort of the packaging these days is much better than it ever has been. But the crucial thing is that we've got to rally our forces against the organisation behind this counterfeiting. It's fantastic that the government have chosen to put this so high up on their agenda and the Patent Office are right behind us. It's very important.
The government talks in quite scary terms about the sort of people who are actually working in the counterfeiting industry. It talks about the fact that it could be funding organised crime, even up to the level possibly of terrorism. Is that scaremongering? Is it that serious?
Well, I mean, the problem is with terrorism, everyone thinks Al-Qaeda, and if we're not suggesting